Twice a day, like clockwork, hundreds of cows are herded into the Highland Dairy in New Mexico. Crews make quick work getting each one online, watching the lifeblood of this farm pumped out gallon by gallon. But farmer Art Scott can't sell an ounce of it.
15,000 gallons a day of milk.
That you're throwing away.
That we're throwing away, we were dumping.
Millions of dollars lost, he says, for milk that's been labeled unusable by state ag officials. That's because it's tainted with a toxic set of so-called forever chemicals known as PFAS that studies show have been linked to cancer and other health problems in humans.
This is where the PFAS is coming from, right in this area.
Coming from his next-door neighbor, Cannon Air Force Base, which sits just over this fence. Lawsuits filed by SCOP and the state of New Mexico allege that's where toxic firefighting foam containing PFAS has been used for decades. State records show it tainted the groundwater, leaking out into SCOP's sprawling farm. It contaminated the water that goes to his cows and worked its way into the irrigated crops that feed them. And because the cows can't be used for milk or sold for meat, they're now wasting away, dying on the farm. Scott claims as many as 1,600 now fill pits he's been forced to dig on his property.
So we're in the process of covering these up right now.
But Art, this is tragic. I mean, this is your livelihood and you're just watching them die.
Mm-hmm.
Does it hit you?
Yeah, it's overwhelming.
Spotlight on America has been reporting since 2019 that the Department of Defense is dealing with PFAS contamination at military installations nationwide. For years, the bases have been trying to handle the fallout themselves, but action by Congress is now forcing the military to take a new step, sending letters to farmers and ag operators within a mile of potentially tainted bases, notifying them about an invisible threat that could ruin their livelihood.
Well, imagine if your neighbor called and said, "Hey, I'm going to start sending toxic waste into your backyard, just letting you know." That's ridiculous, right?
But as Scott Faber from the Environmental Working Group points out, the DoD has no plans yet to handle contamination that's leaked beyond the fences of its bases. And the impact extends well beyond farmers. It trickles out to all of us.
We don't know how much of this irrigation water is being used to water animals that we either eat or the products of which we ultimately eat. We should know that. It shouldn't be a secret whether or not the food we're eating might be contaminated with a toxic forever chemical.
Spotlight on America has repeatedly asked the Defense Department, the USDA, and members of Congress for a list of impacted farms, but no one will provide one.
You've got fields like this just being...
And as for Art Scott, after he was notified by the DoD, he took them to court, seeking compensation and recognition that the damage he claims they've caused has cost him almost everything.
To me, they ought to go out into the countryside and actually take care of it. And that's what I'm up against. I'm fighting Goliath.
I'm Josie Sturman for Spotlight on America.